Introduction of Science of Evil book summary. Imagine a brilliant scientist using cold water and hot baths to test human survival, and how that very same science became a tool for cruelty. In this video, you'll discover how empathy, or the lack of it, can explain acts that seem unimaginable. You'll learn how real experiments once taken seriously by universities turned into deadly tests on innocent people, and why calling it evil doesn't really help us understand what happened. First, we'll unpack the chilling experiments at a notorious camp where people were frozen until they lost consciousness and then plunged into water at different temperatures. You'll see how these trials were pitched as life-saving research for lost pilots yet ended with scores of victims. Then we'll explore why saying those people were just evil falls short. We'll break down the problem with that label and why it leaves us circling back to the same question. Why did normal, educated folks go along with these horrors? Next, prepare to meet a fresh way of looking at human cruelty. We'll introduce a simple idea from psychology, empathy as a measurable trait. You'll find out how scientists can gauge someone's ability to feel what others feel, and how a short questionnaire or brain scan can reveal gaps in that ability. By the end, you'll understand the surprising link between low empathy scores and acts of real violence. Finally, we'll guide you through a clear step-by-step look at how this empathy framework shines a light on the darkest corners of our behavior. You'll see how understanding empathy doesn't just explain the past, it can help us spot and stop injustice today. Stick with us as we decode the science behind why people hurt each other and learn how a tiny shift in perspective can make a world of difference. Listen till the end of the book summary. This video, including its audio and script, is protected by copyright. Unauthorized reproduction, distribution, or piracy is strictly prohibited and may result in legal action. Welcome to Society Culture English Book Summary, Episode 5. In this episode, we'll explore 2011 published book Science of Evil, written by Simon Baron-Cohen. The full title of the book is Science of Evil, on Empathy and the Origins of Cruelty. Chapter 1 of Science of Evil book summary. When people become things. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to ignore someone's feelings? Our history is full of horrors. We read about wars. We hear of genocide, we see stories of torture. That shows we can harm each other. If we skip the idea of evil, how do we explain cruelty? The answer is empathy erosion. Erosion means a slow wearing down. Empathy means feeling into another person's world. It comes from a German word that literally means feeling into. Sympathy is feeling with someone. Empathy goes deeper. It means seeing through another person's eyes. As Atticus Finch said, it is like climbing into someone's skin and walking around. When empathy is strong, we hold two views at once, ours and theirs. When empathy erodes, we lose that second view. We focus only on ourselves. Others fade away. They become objects, things that help or block our goals. Philosopher Martin Buber called these modes I thou and I it. In I thou mode, we see a person's worth. In I it mode, we treat them as objects. That shift lets cruelty in. In everyday life, empathy erosion starts small. You see a person in need but look the other way. You grumble about a stranger in your way. A co-worker shares worries but you brush them off. Each time you slip into I it mode just a little more. This is our working definition from the book. Empathy erosion is a state of mind in which we treat people as things to use or obstacles to remove. In the next chapter, we will see how tiny steps can make this shift happen and how we can guard against it. Chapter 2 of Science of Evil book summary. Thinking and feeling. Have you ever wondered if you can truly think and feel with someone else? So far, we said empathy is a two-way process. It starts with cognition. Cognition means we hold our own thoughts. We also hold someone else's thoughts. We take in both views at once, but that is only half the story. Empathy also needs emotion. It must drive us to act. We must imagine how someone feels. Then we must feel a fitting reaction. We do not just ask how they are, we also watch our own effect. We choose words to comfort. We choose actions to help. This is called affective empathy. It is about reading tone, body language, and faces. A gentle nod or a caring word shows that you feel with them. Real cases show how these parts split. People with psychopathic personality disorder can read minds. They know how others feel, but they stay cold inside. They mimic emotions. They act without real feeling. On the other hand, people on the autism spectrum can feel deep compassion, but they may miss emotional signals. They feel sadness, but they may not know how to respond. Most of us lie between these extremes. For us, empathy is like a muscle. It grows when we use it. It can tire when we push it too hard. Think of the time you search for a lost passport before a trip. You rush around. You focus on the task. You might not see a friend waving. You might not hear a question. That is a short break in empathy, but you soon return to caring mode. Next in the book, we will explore how our mind makes empathy happen. We will learn ways to build it back up. We will see how to keep it strong. Chapter 3 of Science of Evil book summary. Empathy as a dimmer. Have you ever wondered if empathy works like a light switch? It does not. It works like a dimmer. It can turn up or down. When we focus on ourselves, empathy fades. When we think of others, it grows. Most of us sit in the middle. What moves this dial? Social forces. In 1961, Stanley Milgram tested this. He had people give electric shocks to a learner who answered wrong. The learner cried out in pain. Still, many volunteers kept going when a scientist in a white coat told them to. They obeyed orders more than their own feelings. Strong beliefs can shift empathy too. The September 11th hijackers thought their cause was right. That belief erased any care they felt for their victims. Propaganda can do the same. It paints a group as a dangerous threat. This makes people forget the other group's humanity. Empathy shuts off. Cruel acts then become possible. Yet some crimes need more than these factors. Look at Ted Bundy. He was a volunteer for a helpline at Washington University. He used empathy to fool callers. Then he killed at least 30 women between 1974 and 1978. Bundy could read feelings. He used that skill to harm, but he never felt for his victims. On the flip side, people with autism may feel deep compassion. They may miss emotional signals like tone or facial cues. They often turn to objects for comfort. Autism and psychopathy are mirror opposites. One side feels without understanding. The other understands without feeling. In the next chapter of the book, we will learn what drives psychopathy. Chapter 4 of Science of Evil book summary. From child to psychopath. What turns a child into someone who feels no guilt? Many adult psychopaths share two things. They grew up with little love or care. They also broke rules and acted out as kids. We know that bad treatment links to trouble later on, but many people who had hard childhoods grow up kind. So what's the missing piece? Scientists look for an empathy gene. They focus on genes that control serotonin. Serotonin affects mood and anger. One gene is called monoamine oxidase A or MAOA. It makes an enzyme that clears serotonin from the brain. More of this enzyme means less aggression. This gene comes in two forms. MAOAH makes a lot of the enzyme. MAOA-L makes very little. MAOA-L is common in warrior cultures. That is why some call it the warrior gene. Psychologist Avshalom Caspi studied children with MAOA-L. He found that abused kids with this form were much more likely to grow into psychopaths than others. But genes are not the whole story. A book chapter on a 2009 Cambridge University study shows another factor. Researchers measured testosterone in the fluid around unborn babies. They found that higher testosterone made it harder for those kids to read other people's feelings later in life. The brain itself matters too. In 1848, Phineas Gage had an iron rod blast through his skull. He recovered speech and movement, but he lost all care for others. That accident broke his brain's empathy circuit. These findings show that biology shapes our ability to feel for others. Yet biology alone does not answer every question. The book goes on to explore how our genes, hormones, and brains mix with life experiences to shape empathy. Chapter 5 of Science of Evil book summary. Early bonds matter. Can a child learn to feel with others? Peter Fonagy at University College London says they do. He calls it mentalization. It means a child tries to see the world through a parent's eyes. If a parent smiles at a drawing, the child learns, my art makes them happy. The child feels proud. Then they draw more. They learn that actions can affect others. This step needs one thing. The child must feel safe. They must trust their caregiver. If the child thinks the adult might hurt or hate them, they stop trying. They cannot face that threat. They give up on seeing another mind. Their world shrinks to just themselves. John Bowlby saw this in young people. He wrote 44 Thieves. He met teens he called affectionless psychopaths. They had no safe home. They moved from place to place. They never had a secure base. They needed one. What is a secure base? It is love you can trust. It is a home you can return to. When you know you are loved, you can explore. Imagine a toddler at a playground. They try a new slide. They slip. They run back for a hug. They feel safe again. Then they go back to play. That hug is emotional refueling. It builds confidence. It builds empathy. When children get this care, they grow into caring adults. They learn to read feelings. They learn to help and comfort. But if they face neglect or abuse, their brains can change. They lose trust. They lose confidence. They lose empathy. The book shows that our early bonds can shape the rest of our lives. Conclusion of Science of Evil book summary. Keep empathy alive. What did we learn from The Science of Evil by Simon Baron-Cohen? We found out that doing the right thing starts when we see through someone else's eyes. That act of empathy makes us treat people with respect. We also saw that cruelty only becomes real when we treat people like things. For this to happen, our empathy must fade. We learned that our childhood and our genes can wear down our empathy. We cannot change our past or our DNA, but we can choose to grow empathy in our children. We can show them care. We can teach them to notice how they affect others. Now it is up to us to use what we learned. We can pause and ask, how will my words feel? We can look at every person as a real human. Thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments how you practice empathy. Listen the other book summary. Disclaimer, please check the description. Any digital copy of this content that is shared through piracy or downloaded without permission or uploaded on any online social media platform will be considered a clear violation of copyright law. Piracy is a serious offense and strict legal action will be taken against it. Additionally, copyright infringement may result in a strike against your YouTube channel or page, and it could even be deleted. Therefore, please do not engage in piracy or support it. This content has been created based on the references from the mentioned book. However, it may contain some unintentional errors or inconsistencies due to human or mechanical mistakes. If you notice any mistakes or inconsistencies, please accept our apologies and inform us through a comment or message. If you enjoy this book summary and wish to gain complete knowledge of the book, then please consider purchasing the book from an online or offline bookstore and reading it. Thank you.